What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today I'm talking about Mastery Rank 3 in Warframe. If you've been following the life of Mag, Mastery Ranks 1 and 2 are really beginner levels that don't offer you a lot of variation due to the limited resources that you'll have when you start, and this is really the point where the game starts to open up, and you'll see why shortly. First, I like to cover a few things that I did not cover in Mastery Rank 2, mainly due to, again, the lack of resources and just needing to get a little bit more well versed into the game so that you can handle a lot of the content. So first we'll start with the Archwing. The Archwing can be started at Mastery Rank 2, and due to some crafting changes that happened recently, should be able to be completed before you have to finish the first couple of planets. I believe it required a neural sensor before, which you could not get until you unlocked at least Jupiter, where I believe they drop. The Archwing is important because it's necessary for a good amount of the missions, which will basically cause roadblocks for you if you don't possess it. You need it to 100% complete almost all of the planets currently, and at least a few events which will show up in the future or have shown up already in the past require an Archwing, and some of them are recurring. So it's a good idea to get your hands on this as soon as possible, seeing as any map that has Archwing missions and you don't have the Archwing missions completed on will prevent you from being able to deploy drones. And drones are really good at getting you extra resources, especially when you're out of the game. Now the Archwing and all of the Archwing weapons have their own slots. They don't take up any of the existing slots that were used for Warframes or the standard Warframe weapons, the primary, secondaries, and melee. They have their own Archwing guns and Archwing melee weapons, and none of them actually have slots that cost. So if you're looking to raise your mastery rank without having to spend additional real money, or you just don't feel like going through the hassle of trading, the Archwing is really something that you want to focus on early. Next up, we have the Stolen Dreams quest, which will open up at Mastery Rank 3. I'm not going to say much about the quest itself because it's mostly exposition for the story, but like the Archwing, it is very much a gateway quest, allowing the player access to more things down the road once it's completed. If anything, complete it for the rewards at the end, but without it, there's a lot of stuff that you will want access to that you won't even be able to touch later on. And we'll get to that when time rolls around. Now, if you've already visited a relay, you should be somewhat familiar with the layout, but now at rank 3, you can finally get friendly with some unsavory types by joining a syndicate. The syndicates will offer you sigils, which will gain you standing by adding them to your Warframe's appearance and gaining affinity in any way, such as clearing mission objectives or killing enemies. The maximum amount of standing you can gain in a day by wearing the sigils is always 1,000 times your mastery rank, plus an additional 1,000. So there's an incentive to raising your mastery rank here. By raising the rank of your syndicate of choice, you will earn the privilege of being able to play syndicate missions, which will have up to 8 tokens scattered around the map, which can be traded in for more standing. The syndicates will require an initial investment of some resources and 10,000 credits to start, with more required for each rank up, but will unlock summonable support units, unique weapons, weapon augments which give specific weapons special bonuses, and access to augments for specific warframes. Choose wisely, as no syndicate has everything and each one puts you at odds with 2 of the others. Now for the good bits, the weapons. The Tekko is a weapon you can craft at Mastery Rank 2, which seems early, but you'll also have to have crafted and hopefully reached rank 30 with an Ankaros as well. This is good as you'll be able to just transfer over your Ankaros mods and stances as they're the same class of melee weapons. Boasting the best melee critical chance currently available and concentrated slash damage, the Tekko will put the hurt on just about anything. Just be careful, it's short range. Next up we have the Tipedo, a personal favorite. This requires a kunai, also mastery rank 3, and a bow, which has no mastery rank requirement to create. While the barrier of entry is high, it currently has the highest base attack speed in the game with solid critical chance, critical damage, and status chance, each of the last three being at 20%, or 2 times damage for the critical damage. That combined with the fact that staffs have really wide attack ranges and circular attacks on the stances allow you to hit a lot of enemies and are good for clearing groups. The only thing that's not particularly great on the weapon is the damage, but everything else more than makes up for that. From here we go to the dual cleavers. This functions as a set of dual swords as far as stances go, has high critical chance, a great critical damage multiplier, and concentrated slash damage. While not very quick, the big critical bonuses make this a very solid weapon once modded. It also has a Syndicate mod, which will increase the damage even further and give you an AoE proc, so go for it. Then we have one of the most notable early weapons in the game, the Galatine. This weapon has been in Warframe since early in the open beta and has gone from ridiculously great to, well, great. High base damage, being mostly slash, and decent status chance causes it to lean towards base damage and status builds, as its critical chance isn't great, but there really isn't much to gripe about here. There's a reason a ton of players use this. If this ever gets primed, it'll probably shake up the melee meta of the game pretty heavily. So if you're looking for a melee weapon that's pretty much pick up and go, this is it. And that'll be pretty much it for the highlights of Mastery Rank 3. Pick a couple of syndicates, go to town, and keep on grabbing new mods and ranking up your existing ones. This will probably be around the time you'll start to come into your own once your mods start to reach their max levels. Until then, have a good one.